All right, we're going to try that again. And we're live. Okay. So, welcome everybody. And take two, because we wanted to make sure the microphone was working. We were having some problems with our audio with Sightsee Gamer on Friday, so that's a whole thing. Oh, so this, I was just going to do sigils and symbols and that kind of thing, like my tattoos and that kind of thing. And then I realized that that is a very expansive lesson and will need to be done over several other lessons throughout the course of these vlogs or podcasts or live streams or whatever you want to call it. So for those of you who don't know where I'm looking, I have a laptop right here that has all my notes on it, and this is my Facebook Live, and then this is my live stream for YouTube, and that's my beautiful Christmas tree that I just put up out of my stockings that we put up today. And we'll kind of be talking about that a little bit. Hi, Eirik Thorsgaard. Thank you for joining us on Facebook. So I realized that doing symbols and sigils was way too expansive. So if you want me to look at a certain type of symbol or sigil or group of them, let me know. Write it in the comments, PM me, whatever you want. Talk to me somehow, and I will find everything I can on them, and we'll do a whole lesson on just those. So for the time being, it seemed like it was fitting to go over this season. The world around us is going on decorating sprees, and she's doing her nails, don't mind. Going around decorating sprees, and everybody's wrapped up in the holidays in their own little way. So we're going to start with, hi Justice, how you doing? We're going to start with the tree. Because most people, the first thing they do with Christmas is the tree. In fact, most people I know go out Black Friday and cut down Christmas trees and drag them into their houses, and or buy the fake Christmas tree, or mine's fake. It's 4 feet tall, and I box it up every year and I pull it out every year. And how does that all start? Well, there are many theories about how we started cutting down Christmas trees and dragging them inside. The main theory is that the evergreen boughs, that's the branches, the wreaths, that kind of thing, they were all used to decorate homes all over Europe, Rome, the Mediterranean, even down into Egypt in the ancient days, during winter when everything was bleak, because the evergreen was still vibrant and full of color, and it promised the return of the spring. And it was at this time that the sun god would glow again, and summer was to still be expected. In Rome, Saturnalia, the birth of the sun god Saturn, was celebrated by bringing in and decorating the evergreen trees for between December 17th and December 23rd. Once we started bringing in the trees and decorating them, that's when the Yule log was brought in as part of it. Trees and decorating them, that's when the Yule log was brought in as part of it. However, the first Christmas trees were brought inside, as much as I can figure out, and actually decorated and sat up and lit. Queen Victoria. Her mother, according to my research, her mother did decorated the outside trees around their cottage estates. And Queen Victoria, hi Clay, Queen Victoria didn't want to decorate the outside, so she had a tree cut down and put in court, and she decorated it because she wanted it pretty. And then she had it painted, and it spread all over Europe. And all the nobles went, well, if Queen Victoria can do it, I can do it. And so people started bringing in trees and decorating them. Before that, the Norse would bring in trees, but they would find this is the Yule tree for this year, and they would cut it down, and they would throw the end of it in a fireplace, and they would just chop it up and throw the next part in, and chop it up and throw the next part in for like 12 days. And that's how Yule would go. And then the Yule log, which is the part of the tree that they would keep for a full year, would be the end of it that didn't burn in that festival. And those were kept under the bed, to prevent. It was a superstition that if you took it and you put it under your bed, it would stop your house from burning down. I don't know why. Half-burnt log under your bed stops house from burning down, but that's the theory. There are also legends and lore and traditions throughout the Celtic lands that you take this part of the tree and tree, I mean, huge giant logs, and you start the winter solstice fire with it. When you take out all the rest of the lights except for one, you have one ember, and you use it to light the next Yule log, and then that fire that builds from that one spot is then spread throughout the community. So you have this sense of community, and the symbols and the lights and the everything comes from that one spot. And it again promises the return of the new year and the spring and all of that. And there were times as the Yule log burned, you would pull out the one from underneath your bed. When you cut the new one, you would take the old one and put it in the fire. And you would sit around and tell ghost stories and drink cider and watch the shadows cast upon the wall by the fire. And if your shadow was headless, then it foretold your death in the next year. So that was fun. Yule logs were often anointed with wine or salt. And some communities, you could not touch the Yule log if your hands were dirty, which does not make sense to me because it's a tree and it was dirty, it was outside. But if you touch the tree, you're going to, I don't know. It doesn't tell me why. It just says you're not allowed to do it. So that is a thing. You can never buy the Yule log. You can never bring it from someone else. It has to be something you went and found. That's the whole Yule log tradition. Now, the Yule tree, which was really fun, like I said, it was brought in and it was burned for 12 days. And it is in celebration of Yulnir, which is another name for Odin. And it's a specific face of Odin, because Odin has many faces. And Yulnir, or Yuli, which wore holly. So he was Holly Yuli in the wintertime. And he is depicted as a very tall, very robust, round warrior with a long white beard who wore red, stained with the blood of his enemies, and laughed a lot because he was super jolly. Holly, jolly, Yuli. This is a whole thing. There's Santa Claus is Odin. But I'm hoping most of you knew that. I'm hoping. We don't have a whole lot of viewers today. That's okay. This might even be a short lesson. That's fine too. So we're going to move on to Father Christmas. And then we'll get to all this accoutrement behind me. Father Christmas, the story begins with a real person, in theory.
Was it a person?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
This is my apprentice.
Hi.
Hi, Ren. So we're going to talk about Father Christmas. So Nicholas was a monk in Germany, I believe. Or Deutschland. The legends say Germany, some of them say I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't write it all down. He comes from like 4 different places, but he was a monk, specifically a monk, not a friar or a priest or anything like that, because he had the long robes, the brown robes. And he was known for being exceptionally kind and had known to perform miracles, as you know, saints have to do in order to get their sainthood. But he was Father Nicholas. That's important. And he became a saint, and this is why he became a saint. So the legend tells of a poor widowed man who had 3 young daughters. And he was so poor that he was worried that his family's poverty would make it hard for his girls to find husbands. And Father Nicholas knew that this was a problem. So he heard about the man's struggles, and he found out that the girls had done their laundry and had hung their stockings by the fire to dry. So he snuck into their house, and he put gold in their stockings.
Okay.
And that is why we hang stockings by the chimney on Christmas Eve, because he did it Christmas Eve.
We don't get cold, we get cold.
Only if you're bad.
I'm bad all the time.
That's why you get coal. So
I don't keep gold in my stockings either way.
that's actually why the poorer families would do the chocolate coins, because they're gold wrapped in chocolate wrapped in gold coins. It's to celebrate that.
I got a
Legend.
chocolate orange.
That's a different legend. That's actually a Hawaiian legend.
Really?
Oranges in the foot of your stocking.
I like chocolate
Yeah.
oranges.
That is all a Hawaiian legend.
Can I get a chocolate orange for Christmas?
We'll talk about it. So
Sorry.
that's okay. So this became legend, and he became one of the miracles he performed was that he supposedly visited every house in that town on Christmas Eve night and filled stockings and left presents for all the good children in the town. And he became known as, his last name of course was Claus. His name was actually Nicholas Claus. And he became known as Saint Nicholas, or Saint Claus, which if you translate into Latin becomes Santa Claus.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so the Dutch called him Sinterklaas. There you go. Okay. So the Dutch called him Sinterklaas, and his legend kind of faded out until the Dutch came from Holland to America, and they brought with him the legend of Sinterklaas. But it became mixed with the American and the English, and it became Santa Claus. And he was originally depicted with a long brown robe and furs and a crown of holly. Well, the crown of holly comes from the Green Man. The Green Man, he is the Celtic Santa Claus. He's the Celtic god of winter. He's the Holly King, who is the representation of the goddess's consort through the winter months. And he's kind of the happy, jolly, it's okay not to fear death because life will always go on, life and death and rebirth and life and death and rebirth.
Okay.
That is the Holly King. So, originally, Santa Claus was depicted in long brown robes of a monk, wearing furs like Mjolnir.
I was
Odin.
thinking more like reindeer.
Like Odin. Odin rode a sleigh pulled by reindeer. 8 of them.
Huh?
That is Mjolnir's contribution to Santa Claus.
That is great.
So the holly jolly character with the red and white suit and the heavy and the round cheeks and the big nose and the beard and all of that is a Coca-Cola commercial in the 1930s. Or when they still had cocaine. But that comes back to Mjolnir. So Father Christmas, Saint Nick, Mjolnir, the holly jolly guy, Holly King, they're all the same guy. They're all the spirit of Christmas. So as I have told my children,
So Christ has nothing to do with it?
so
Sorry, I thought that was an important question.
no, it totally is. So I'm getting there.
Sorry.
So when we talk about simply the symbols of the season, the Christmas tree, the stockings, the lights on the tree, I'll get there too. The lights on the tree, the why we use an evergreen instead of, how the tree came into the house, that kind of thing. Santa Claus, the bells, the jingle bells, the sleighs, all of that.
Jingle bells are my favorite for Christmas.
I know they are. All of that. That's not really a Christian ideal. Those are all either pagan or cultural, which most of them honestly are just cultures that Christianity swooped in and went, well, we're adopting this because you're part of our culture now. And it's not necessarily, and This is
I
an
just
argument
look
I get
very
into a lot with a lot of my pagan friends, and versus my Christian friends. Because yes, I will be the first to admit that Christianity steals a lot from from paganism. However, Christmas in general, it's just the date.
I don't have a
in
problem with how they sweep in and take everything. I just have a problem with the churches.
in Roman record and in the Bible, it states that Mary was heavy with child, and Joseph took her to his hometown to perform census. That is why they were traveling to Joseph's hometown, and it's why she was give birth in Bethlehem, because it was on the way to where Joseph lived.
I actually call the Virgin Mary.
I'll get to that. Hang on.
Sorry. I'm asking questions already.
So all of that. But the Roman records say that census is taken right over Passover. Passover is just before Easter. It's in April. So this is a whole thing. However, the Romans worshipped a sun god that was born at winter solstice. The Norse worshipped a sun god who was born at winter solstice. The Celts worshipped a sun god who was born at winter solstice. So it doesn't. It's not hard to go. Christ brought light back to the world. Christ is the light. Of course, he was born at the same time that all of these other sun gods were born to bring light back to the world. It is the same concept. So why would we be offended that if I, as a Celt, because I follow very Celtic pagan-y paths, am not offended that the Babylonians worship a sun god who was born at the same time as my sun god? Why am I offended that the Christians say that their sun god is born at the same time as my sun god? I don't care. So, if you believe that Christ was born on Christmas Eve, Christmas night, Christmas Day, and he brings light to our world and promises renewal and our everlasting life through his trials and his suffering, then I thank him for that sacrifice and his birth and the life that he lived. And I wish you a Merry Christmas and a blessed holiday system. And I hope that it brings you all the joy that a holiday can. And if you are super, super pagan and you believe that this is all about sun gods and renewal and that kind of thing, then I wish you Merry Solstice and all the blessings that go with that. And I say happy holidays, and I say Merry Christmas, and I say happy solstice and Merry Yule, and all of them, and I am not offended should you say them all back. I am not offended by Happy Hanukkah. I am not offended by Kwanzaa, but I do not understand Kwanzaa, and that's something I have not done my research on yet, and I apologize for that, because it should be wrapped up in this, as well as the that's not the right word, as well as the menorah and the dreidel, and that is a whole other lesson for a whole other day. So that's what I have to answer your question.
Which one?
She's called the Virgin Mary because she was a virgin, because she had not yet married Joseph.
So she had a foster child?
No, she had not yet married Joseph, and an angel of the Lord came to her and said, "You are going to bear the child of the Lord."
Oh.
And she said yes. And then the angel went to Joseph and said, "Your wife is going to bear the child of the Lord. You are not allowed to touch her until after the baby's born. You still have to marry her." And Joseph said, "Okay," because how do you argue with that?
Okay, that makes no sense to me.
So she gave birth to a child as a virgin.
Okay.
So, I mean, this is not that foreign of a concept. Zeus did it all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. It just so happens that when God did it, he warned the woman first and asked permission. Consent is important. Hi, Miss Kalua. So, Oh, now we're going to talk about traditions and holidays and symbols.
What was my other question?
You asked whether or not Christ had anything to do with Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually it does. Christmas is actually called Christmas.
I figured it has Christ in it.
That's why we call it Christmas. And that is because my daddy's watching. Hi, Daddy. That is because every time we celebrate a saint's birth, it is their mass.
Okay.
So we celebrate Christ's birth, it is Christ's mass. So it should shorten to Christmas.
Okay.
So now we're going to talk about all of this stuff over here. We talked about the stockings already, about how that is really the legend of St. Nicholas and the stockings and why they're hung by the chimney with care. We didn't talk about the star.
The star's important?
The star is important.
Oh my god.
So the star is the symbol of a Babylonian sun god. But we put it on the top of the Christmas tree because it is the star that led the shepherds and the 3 wise men to the manger where Christ was born. So we put the star at the top of the tree to represent the star that led the worshippers to Christ as he lay in the manger to witness the miracle of the virgin birth.
Can I ask an irrelevant question that's also kind of relevant?
Maybe.
Why Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate holidays?
So that is actually kind of relevant to this specific lesson.
That's
actually,
what I was trying to say. It's relevant and relevant.
So I'll get there. You can't see them in this picture, but there are silver and green and red balls on my tree, and those
and
really
gold.
and gold. They just represent the decorations that, like, people in Rome used to bring in the wreaths and the bows and the whatever to brighten up their houses and things during the dullness of winter because everything was gray and bleak outside and it caused depression. And if you light up your house with pretty balls and bows and ribbons, it brings happiness and it reminds you of spring so you don't get sad and depressed through the winter. The lights represent there used to be a time when you would decorate. Okay, so pagans would decorate the trees outside of their house to represent the birth of their sun god and through the winter, and they would put candles in their trees to let other pagans know when they were in hiding that this was a safe place to come and worship, to come and gather. Christians, who were not always thought of in good places, because sometimes Christians were martyrs. Christians put lights in their windows to tell other Christians that this was a Christian house and you could come and worship there.
If you're Christian.
So that is why we put lights in our windows, we put lights in our tree, because it all harkens back to those symbols. The Jehovah's Witnesses believe that it is blasphemy, it is against God to worship or to celebrate any birthday or holiday but his birth.
But my grandma doesn't celebrate anything,
right,
including that.
So you celebrate God's birth by praying and being thankful that he was born for your sins.
Okay.
Because to give gifts on Christmas or to receive gifts on Christmas would be attempting to overshadow that gift.
Alright.
I didn't say I understood it, I just said that's what it is.
They also don't celebrate birthdays.
That's why. It was very explained to me, and I tried very hard to understand. I do not.
It's just hard to understand when your grandma does it.
Because I believe that Christ came to earth to give us this gift of life and all the things that he gave us, and therefore we should join. Oh my gosh, we've got so many comments here and they didn't go. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay. You can't hear Jay. That's good. So Jay's questions have been, she wanted to know why Jehovah's Witnesses didn't celebrate holidays. She wanted to know why she was called the Virgin Mary, and what Christ had to do with Christmas. Those were the 3 questions I have answered. I'm sorry, my page did not scroll down. So, that all being said, I believe that if you're going to celebrate someone giving you things, then it is the best way to celebrate that is to give other people things. To spread that joy and that happiness and that sort of thing. So, the main thing to take away from these lessons. Nope, that's not where I am. I'm so sorry. So, to wrap up, which is so short, I really thought this was going to take longer. It took like 2 hours to put it all together. Holidays and traditions and symbols, they are what we make them. They have the power that we give them. The Christmas tree went from being a symbol of the ever-changing seasons and the strength of the sun and a promise to return and new growth to a symbol of the birth of the Christ child. The lights in the tree once symbolized the return of the sun, now represent the star that led the wise man and the shepherds to a baby born in a manger. They bring us festivity and have contests, and the lights on our houses and windows were once used by both pagans and Christians in different ways to celebrate the places that were safe to worship, to act as a guide to this is where you can come, this is where you can be, and now they're used to just spread festivity and the holiday spirit. Stockings.
What about snow?
It's winter. Snow is winter. That's why. In Hawaii, there is no snow. In Hawaii, they roast pigs in a pit for Christmas.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
It is super awesome.
I want to go to Hawaii for Christmas. I have a friend that lives over there.
We can try that one day.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Oh
I have family that lives over there. So we'll see what I can do.
Honolulu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
His name is Zion.
That's an awesome name, Zion.
He's trying to be a computer programmer.
So. What do I got here? I've got more comments. I'm so sorry, everybody. It's okay. Thank you. Okay. So the main thing I want everybody to take away from this lesson, if you're Christian and you believe the holiday is the birth of your Messiah, and he brings the light back to your life and to our world, then I thank him for that wondrous gift and that renews every year. And I wish you a blessed holiday season full of blessings and joy. And if you are a pagan and you believe this time of year marks the new beginnings and the light returning to our world through the battle of the holly and the ivy, then I thank them for their great battles and their continuing renewal of their oaths and being consorts to the Great Mother. And I wish you the happiest of holidays and the blessed Yuletide and Merry Solstice. But what I really hope that you guys get out of this lesson, what I really hope that I've shown, is that there are similarities in every faith, in all of these cultures. They all have the same, I keep putting my hand directly in front of Jay. They all have the same message. All of these symbols, they have the message. And that message is that we come together as a community and a family, and we bring joy to each other as the darkness gets darker, and remind each other that the light is right around the corner, and that it's always darker just before it gets lighter. And that's an important lesson, especially in the winter. There are so many of us who suffer from different kinds of mental illness. There are so many of us who struggle through the winter, especially if you work construction jobs and everything goes quiet in the winter and nobody's doing construction, so your pay is cut, and now you have to do Christmas and keep your bills paid and. Yeah. So
I'm so happy though.
It is important that we all come together as a community and we share our happy thoughts and we see the light around the corner. And we know that spring is coming and eventually everything's going to be okay. Because in the great words of SRK, and everyone should know that, his name is Shah Rukh Khan, and he is a Bollywood actor who is amazing. You should look him up. He says the best thing in one of my favorite movies. It's called Om Shanti Om. And he says it can't be the end because it isn't a happy ending yet. And it never ends without a happy ending.
Aww.
It's beautiful, isn't it? The best thing ever. So I'm going to go back to making my own. No, I froze up. There we go. I'm going to go back to making my own holiday gifts now. And we're going to do some family time together because we decorated our tree and we took a break so I could do this live stream. And we're going to go back to doing family holiday stuff together. And I wish you all a happy holiday season. And I'm so glad that you all joined me. And I hope that Leah, you're always right at the end of my stream. What is that? Like every time. That's not true. Last week, she was right there. Yay. Hi, Ivy. Okay, so like, subscribe, hit the bell, spread the word, tell your friends, boost the signal, spread the message. Can't stop the signal now. Please tell me if there are symbols, sigils that you want to know. Tell me if there are subjects you want me to talk about. Comment, ask questions, anything. Just communicate with me. Let me know what you think I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, whether or not that light back there is super annoying. I think it is. Yeah. So I think that next week we might do a quick lesson on the other holidays that are this time of year. So some Hanukkah and some Kwanzaa and.
I just wanted to say because it's my least favorite holiday.
Oh, we'll get to that too. We're gonna do that in February.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, no, there's a whole lesson on it. It's a beautiful holiday. It really is.
Can we do one on my birthday?
Yes, we can.
Because there's sometimes something that falls on my birthday.
Yes, there is.
What is it?
I don't know right now, but we will find it. Okay, so like I said, please like, subscribe. Yay, Ivy waved. Like, subscribe, tell me what you want me to say, what you want me to do, what you want to research, hear about, whatever. I'm going to do I will be doing a solstice ritual. I will be doing a large solstice ritual. I do not know where that will be located yet. Yeah. That's going to be a thing. So watch for that. Great lesson message. Well done. Keep it coming. Thank you, Ren. I gotta figure out my scheduling here. Hold on just a second and I will tell you. That's super helpful. Okay, so next Sundays will be about other holidays that we'll do in this. Probably the 22nd will be the solstice ritual. And then the 29th will be something else. That is how I plan it at the moment. And I'm frozen up again. Gosh darn it. Tim, we're about to end. So like, subscribe, tell your friends, boost the signal. I love you all, and I hope that you are all safe and happy this holiday season and that you get everything you need to have. Bye, Ivy. Nana loves you. I know it's all about the babies. I'm sorry. I had to. All right. Tim, can you end the stream?